Hello and welcome to Idea TV Midday News. I am Cynthia Bassey. We begin with the headlines. African Development Bank re-engages Eritrea with new growth strategy. EY Cameroon confirms ANSELME PATIPEWE as managing partner amid regional restructure. G20 faces rift as US excludes South Africa from 2026 summit. Algeria officially switches on 5G network nationwide. And away from Africa, European Union opens antitrust probe into Meta's use of artificial intelligence. In health, Africa faces rising cholera, MPOX, and MARBURG outbreak. In business, Malawi commissions $100 million cement plant to boost local production and save foreign exchange. In sports, Anthony Joshua makes weight ahead of 100 million euro Jake Paul fight. And now the news in full. The African Development Bank has launched a new strategy to support Eritrea's development, focusing on infrastructure, climate resilience, and regional integration. The country faces major challenges, including limited transport networks, low energy access, and repeated droughts that affect agriculture and food security. The bank says its strategy will prioritize water management, climate-resilient farming, and rural infrastructure to stabilize livelihoods in drought-prone areas. Improvements in transport corridors and energy access are also expected to boost Eritrea's private sector and participation in regional trade. The African Development Bank officials note that the real engagement will include support for public financial management and project implementation systems, aiming to strengthen institutional capacity. This marks the first structured bank involvement in Eritrea after years of limited operations, aligning the country with broader aim of African regional development initiatives. In another news, EY Cameroon has officially confirmed ANSELME PATIPEWE as its country managing partner. The appointment, validated by the firm's global executive on November 20th, follows his recent role as operations director, where he focused on stabilizing governance and restoring trust within the office. PATIPEWE, a 10-year member of EY Network with expertise in taxation and business law, will lead the firm as it prepares for a major regional organization. From May 1st, 2026, Francophone Sub-Saharan Africa will split into two separate entities, one for audit and financial services and the other for consulting, accounting, tax, payroll, and compliance. To support this transition, both new entities will adopt the ERITREA platform as a shared technology backbone, ensuring operational continuity and minimizing disruptions. EY says the move strengthens leadership and reinforces client confidence across the region. In another news, diplomatic tensions between the United States and South Africa are raising concerns about a potential split within the G20. Washington has excluded South Africa, a full member, from the 2026 summit, instead inviting Poland, a key European ally. Relations soared after former U.S. President Donald Trump accused South Africa of genocide against white Afrikaners, a claim rejected by South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. South Africa has said it is prepared to skip the 2026 gathering, signaling frustration with what it sees as unequal treatment. Analysts warn that this could mark a turning point, with the G20 fragmenting into rival blocs as smaller countries face increasing pressure to choose sides. Some experts describe the situation as a shift towards West versus the Rest dynamic. Observers also note that the U.S. boycott of last year's summit in Pretoria, the first ever hosted in Africa, highlights growing global distrust and perceived double standards. The G20, which represents the world's largest economies and nearly two-thirds of the global population, now faces questions about its cohesion and relevance amid rising geopolitical tensions. Algeria has officially switched on its fifth-generation mobile network, marking a major step in the country's digital transformation agenda. The Minister of Posts and Telecommunications, Ali Zerouki, announced the launch at a ceremony in Algiers, confirming the 5G services are now active and ready for deployment across key regions. The event brought together senior officials and representatives from the three major operators, Mobilis, Jazzy, and Ooredoo, who showcased demonstrations of how the new technology will improve data speed, reduce latency, and support large-scale device connectivity. Authorities say the rollout will follow a phased 6-year plan beginning with selected provinces before expanding nationwide. The government maintains that 5G will boost innovation in healthcare, education, industrial automation, and digital public services, positioning Algeria as a rising digital leader in North Africa. Officials say the network will help drive the country's long-term smart economy ambitions. We'll now take a quick break. The news continues when we return.
Number 2. Advanced neurotechnology beyond BCIs. Brain-computer interfaces grabbed headlines when Neuralink implanted its first chip in 2024. But neurotechnology is much broader. Researchers are testing non-invasive brain stimulation to treat depression and PTSD, while companies like Kernel are developing helmets that can monitor brain activity with unprecedented detail. Clinical trials are exploring personalized brain therapies for epilepsy and Alzheimer's. In 2023, the U.S. NIH launched its Brain Initiative 2.0, investing billions in advanced neurotech. By 2026, these innovations could expand from medical use into wellness and cognitive enhancement.
Welcome back. If you're just joining, this is Idea TV Midday News. Now the rest of the news. Away from Africa, the European Union has opened a fresh antitrust investigation into Meta, focusing on whether the integration of its artificial intelligence tools into WhatsApp could limit competition. Regulators in Brussels say they are examining whether the new AI features give Meta an unfair advantage over other developers in the fast-growing messaging and AI markets. The move comes despite pressure from the United States urging Europe to ease scrutiny on American technology companies. Washington has recently warned that tough EU enforcement could trigger trade tensions, including the threat of tariffs, but European leaders appear undeterred. Officials are calling for even stronger oversight of big tech, and reports suggest the EU is preparing to issue a separate fine against X in the coming days, a development acknowledged by U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, who criticized what he called Europe's attacks on American firms. Now in health news, Africa is confronting a rising wave of infectious diseases, including cholera, MPOX, and Marburg virus. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has warned. Professor Yap Bohm, Incident Manager for Health Emergencies at Africa CDC, said overstretched resources and gaps in preparedness are making the continent vulnerable in public health threats. He highlighted the Africa Health Security and Sovereignty Agenda as a roadmap to strengthen local drug production, digital health systems, and long-term resilience. Recent data shows the toll is rising. There have been more than 132,000 suspected MPOX cases, over 301,000 suspected cholera cases, and nearly 9,000 suspected Lassa fever cases across Africa this year, with thousands of deaths reported. Ethiopia recently confirmed the Marburg virus outbreak in Jinka town, with 8 deaths among 13 cases, prompting rapid response measures, including contact tracing and surveillance at points of entry. While transmission is declining in some countries, cholera and MPOX remain major threats. Professor Bohm said Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, and Angola account for the majority of cholera deaths, while Liberia, Kenya, Ghana, Uganda, and Guinea account for most recent MPOX cases. Vaccination campaigns are underway in several countries, with millions of doses delivered and healthcare workers being trained. He stressed that Africa must lead its own health security future through long-term investment and preparedness. In business news, Malawi has commissioned a new $100 million integrated cement plant in Balaka, built by China's Harcin Cement Group through its local subsidiary Portland Cement Malawi Limited. The 11-month project marks a major shift in the country's industrial strategy, aiming to cut foreign exchange losses by producing clinker locally and reducing reliance on imported materials. The facility boosts output from 300,000 tons to over 1.1 million tons a year, transforming the company from a simple grinding station into a fully integrated operation, but its success will depend heavily on Malawi's fragile energy system, as cement production requires high, consistent power supply at a time when the national grid remains vulnerable to droughts and climate shocks. Government officials say the plant is key to Malawi's long-term economic vision, projecting savings of up to $50 million annually and potential earnings from regional exports. However, with the country still racing to strengthen and diversify its energy mix, the project is expected to be an early test of Malawi's ability to support heavy industrial growth. Lastly, in sport news, British heavyweight Anthony Joshua has confirmed he is on wait for his highly anticipated €100 million bout against Jake Paul, set for December 19th in Miami. Joshua posted a video showing he weighed 110.6 kilograms, comfortably within the agreed limit of 111 kilograms for the 6th-round contest. The fight has drawn global attention due to the significant size and experience gap between the two men. Joshua, a two-time heavyweight champion, holds a 5-inch height advantage and a 52-pound difference from Paul's last record weight. Jake Paul, who typically competes at cruiserweight, enters the ring with a 12-1 professional record built mainly against limited opposition. Meanwhile, former undisputed heavyweight champion Alexander Usyk has voiced concern for Paul, warning that the disparities could be dangerous. Both fighters will compete with regulation 10-ounce gloves as promoters finalize preparations for what is expected to be one of the year's most talked about crossover events. And that's all we have for you on Idea TV Midday News. But before we go, here's a recap of the headlines. We brought you news that African foreign exchange. And lastly, in sport, Anthony Joshua makes weight ahead of €100 million Jake Paul fight. And that's all we have for you on Idea TV Midday News. I'm Cynthia Bassi. Thank you for watching.